If you haven't heard the news already, I'll go ahead and lay it out for you. The college football playoff is thinking of expanding to 14 teams after the year 2026, according to certain reports. Now, you know what? This is a controversial opinion, but I'm going to go right into it. I fear the direction that this is heading towards for the sport. Why? Because we haven't even played a 12-team playoff yet, and we're already thinking of expanding. Now, we're most likely expanding, the CFP that is, because certain conferences feel that they are not being fairly represented in this new system. Now, are they right? Are they wrong? That is a conversation for another day, but the reality is that that's the reality. Certain conferences feel underrepresented. Now, here's what I'm going to say to this. Whether it was the BCS, whether it was the CFP 4-team format, whether it was the 12-team format, conferences have felt underrepresented in every type of format. It's just something that's going to happen. Why? Well, it is based on subjective decision making, and certain conferences are going to have certain types of arguments that are different. Now, that's going to create a varying type of disagreement. So, all of a sudden, here's what I'm wondering. If these conferences keep getting pissed, which is going to happen, by the way, guaranteed. And the CFP's only reaction is just to keep expanding. Now, all of a sudden, bam, we could be at 16. And then they're like, dang, we start to realize from their point of view, the money that can be made in playing more games, a quantity over quality perspective. And then we're at 16, and then we're at 20. And then all of a sudden, we're talking about 4-loss SEC teams deserving to be in the picture, and then maybe 32, and it keeps going. I've heard a lot of people have said, hey, why not just play a 64-32 team tournament like college basketball does? Well, then all of a sudden, the margin for error is very massive, and maybe 5 to 6-loss SEC teams get in the picture, and that is an issue. Why is that an issue, Harris? Because it damages the value of the regular season, because you reward mediocrity. Now, I'm a college basketball fan. I'm one of the biggest college basketball fans you'll ever meet. And even I admit the regular season can at times be a drag. Why? Because, the regular season has little to no logical value. It has a lot of emotional value to the diehards of the sport, but in terms of logical value, stakes involved, little to no value. Teams can go 19-14 and make the NCAA tournament. 11 seeds make the Final Four. UCLA, it was 3-4 years ago, went 10 losses in a struggling conference, didn't win a single game in their conference tournament, ended the regular season on a 4-game losing streak, and made the Final Four. It didn't matter how their regular season was, how they ended the regular season. It didn't matter. They made the Final Four. They were a Jalen Suggs half-court shot from competing in the national championship game. Well, all of a sudden, yet again, that damages the value of the regular season, right? In college basketball, man, I'm going to say this. March Madness is amazing because the stakes are so unbelievably high. But the regular season, it sees lower viewership, significantly lower viewership compared to March Madness because, the stakes aren't as high. Well, in college football, it's March Madness. Before this format, it's March Madness every week. Teams can't afford to lose more than one game. Otherwise, or maybe 2, or otherwise, bam, you're gone. You're gone. And that's the beauty of it, which in this format completely takes that out. I remember, I'm going to go back to this, use another college basketball example. I remember last year, North Carolina beat Duke, and fans are rushing the streets of Chapel Hill. Like there's this full-on parade, and it's the ESPN reaction board, and they bring on some guys. They bring on Joe Lunardi. Joe Lunardi does great work. I respect what he does, but I'm just going to say this. They bring on Joe Lunardi, and they talk about, this could move Carolina up to this seed, Duke down to this seed. Their first reaction. I'm going to ask you guys this. When those Carolina fans rushed the streets of Chapel Hill and had a parade for beating Duke, do you think they gave a crap about what seed they were going to be? No. They care about the fact that they just beat Duke. Do you think they care? Our net rating higher by 6 spots. We could be this seed. No. I don't want college football to turn into that. I don't want it to turn into that. That's one of the reasons why I'm just fearful of the direction that this could be heading. And in terms of other things, especially, it's not just college basketball, the NBA. The NBA viewership is significantly down in the regular season right now. Why is that? Well, that's because over 50% of the league makes the playoffs. Now with the play-in game, you're looking at 20 out of 30 teams with a shot to win the NBA Finals. Well, that denounces the value of the regular season. The regular season can be a drag. They can have a tough time getting some viewers as well that actually watch the games outside of social media. I don't want the sport to turn into that. That's what I'm saying. So you asked me, Harris, what's your dream format? I would say, well, what's the fairest format? Oregon-Georgia National Championship. And you can disagree with me all you want, but I say those are the only two teams that deserve to compete for a national championship. Texas lost to Georgia twice. They don't deserve to be there over Georgia. Penn State has not won the big game. Notre Dame lost to a MAC team, a mid-level MAC team, at home. Tennessee lost to Arkansas on the road. Ohio State lost to Michigan at home. Michigan's only road win the entire season, by the way. Indiana, 0 top 25 wins. Boise State, 0 top 25 wins. SMU, 0 top 25 wins. ASU lost to Cincinnati and Texas Tech, and I think you get the point about Clemson. So we're saying, in this format, okay, hey, Penn State, hey, Indiana, hey, SMU, you can schedule a terrible non-con. I know SMU didn't do that, but bear with me on the point. You don't have to win the big game. But guess what? We're going to reward you anyway. And that right there hurts the value of the regular season. You know why? Have you seen Penn State's non-con? Have you seen Indiana's non-con? Indiana had a game this year against Louisville that they bought out, spent millions of dollars to buy out. You know what we called that in Little League? A forfeit. When a team doesn't want to play a team, a forfeit. And I don't care if you use millions of dollars and another reasoning to cover it up, that's a forfeit. Why are they forfeiting that game? A lot of money could be earned in that game. Well, maybe because they wanted to make a bowl, possibly. That is not a 100% guarantee. That is a pretty strong assumption, I will say. Well, all of a sudden, weeks 1 through 4 could get severely destroyed because now we don't have any good non-cons because nobody wants to play anybody out of fear of losing because the big game isn't as much of an incentive. The con outweighs the pro. I don't want the regular season to turn into that. And I fear that that's what it's turning into exactly right now. So I also heard this argument the other day. Someone told me, man, the college football playoff, it creates more parity than the BCS. And I want to ask you this. I want to tell you this. Let's look at the first 10 years of the college football playoff and the first 10 years of the BCS. In the first 10 years of the college football playoff, we had 6 different national champions. Bama, Georgia, and Clemson, by the way, were responsible for 7 of those 10 natties. Just want to put that out there. How about the BCS? In the first 10 years of the BCS, 9 different schools won national championships. The only other being LSU, who did it with 2 different coaches, by the way, in that span. So before you tell me that the college football playoff brings parity to the sport, I want to ask you, does it? Does it?